Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Thursday to everybody watching. Welcome to Game Day Live, presented by the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network and the Primetime Radio Studios, along with Ann Crew Brew. My name is Vinnie Parise, joined by Shorts Guy, as we get you set for New Jersey Devils hockey as they take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Welcome to all our fans watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch. Shorts Guy, the Devils, they're looking for a win against the Pittsburgh Penguins on the road. How you doing, man?
Yeah. I'm doing good, aside from the fact that the Devils seems to not be able to do very much right at this moment. However, there's always a new day. It's always a new opportunity for a win. It's a hot Pittsburgh Penguins team and a very, somewhat hot and cold New Jersey Devils. So other than that, I'm doing pretty darn good. I have a game myself tonight, so I'm going to have to miss the Devils game once again because I'll be on the rink at about the same time the Devils are. How are you doing today?
That's funny. I'm good. They were 6-2-1 with Jack Hughes. I'm just throwing that out there.
I know. It's huge.
Everybody's freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. I'm like, they were 6-2-1 without Jack Hughes. Or with Jack Hughes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my fantasy team is garbage without Jack Hughes. I'll tell you that much. He was single-handedly winning me games in fantasy. And now that I don't have him, my fantasy team sucks.
Yeah, I'm sure. I play in 2 leagues. He's on my team in one of them, and oddly enough, Heischer's on the other one. So not loving that they're both been out, but I think when they both are missing from the lineup, we've talked about it on the show 1,000 times. We're not going to keep beating the dead horse, but people are freaking out as if those two can't come back, and this team could look exactly like they did when they got hurt or before they got hurt. I'm firmly believe that could be the case. It's a long season. I'm pretty sure someone told me yesterday that the Devils went like 4-7 in December last year, and they had the most points that they ever had in the hit. They weren't good in December at all.
Good.
And maybe that's November this year, right? Like, and they're missing their best players, and this is the tough stretch of the season. Maybe, we saw Florida last year. They were terrible in October, November, and December. And then they got hot right at the right time and rode that wave all the way to the Stanley Cup final. There are a lot of ways that things could go good or bad for you. I'm not even saying, things could remain bad for the Devils all season long. That's obviously a possibility too. I just don't foresee it being that way with the guys that are on this roster, with the guys that are missing coming back. More likely than not, Jack probably plays on Saturday against the New York Rangers, and Timo Meier's probably going to play today. I have no reason to believe he's not going to play today, so you'll probably have him. And, this Pittsburgh Penguins team, they're red hot. The only team that was able to cool off, if it wasn't for the New Jersey Devils last year, the Pittsburgh Penguins would have made the playoffs. They missed by 1 point. They got 0 wins against the Devils last year, and the Devils, without Hughes and Heischer, are better than they were 6 years ago when Malkin called the Prudential Center the scariest place to play in the league because he felt like the Penguins lost every single time they were there. I was like, Evgeny Malkin scared of the Prudential Center? Like, the Penguins, they got Hall of Famers at every position. Like, what is he scared? Oh, because the Devils smoke him for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but
almost every single time.
The bad years for the Devils, it was like they were great against the Penguins. Remember, we're talking like Brian Boyle scoring hat tricks against them, and guys just going absolutely crazy. I think part of me wants to say was Gibbons' 3-on-5 goal against the Penguins. They had a ton of success against the Penguins one way or another, and I mean, obviously, every year tells a different tale. But what are you expecting when they take on the Penguins tonight?
Yeah, at this point, I'm going to be honest. I don't know what exactly to expect with this Devils lineup. I really hope. I know you're real confident Timo will be in the lineup. I was reading stuff on it today that he's a game time decision. Because I had a game on Tuesday when the Devils were playing. I didn't see what happened or if anything happened. Was there a particular play or an injury that he picked up that was noticeable or no? Because I believe he scored on Tuesday because one of my teammates was complaining he had him as a keeper in his league, and then he goes and scores that game. But was there a particular play that he got hurt on? I don't even really know.
Yeah, he took a hard play into the boards late in the game. He had 19 minutes
Okay.
of ice time by the time it was all said and done. But yeah, he did take a hard hit towards the end of the game. So hearing
Okay.
that he wasn't at practice this morning really isn't all that surprising. But he did get on the ice towards the end of practice, and then he stayed on with a couple of the guys. So the fact that that happened and they called
Yeah.
him a game time decision instead of ruling him out, that's kind of where I'm saying like maybe he is going to play. Don't come at me if he
Okay.
doesn't play. But man, are the Devils in trouble if you take Heischer, Hughes, and Meyer out of the lineup for even one game.
Yeah, and if he's not in the lineup, you can direct all your anger at primetime Sam Wu on Twitter. Just kind of direct
Yes.
it there because everyone else does anyway. It'll give him something to look at while he's at work. But yeah, I really would like to see the Devils kind of turn it up against this Pittsburgh Penguins team. You're right. They've had the Penguins number for a long time at this point, so it would be a good game to get started. It would be a good game for them to do well tonight to prepare themselves for Saturday, because that's really to me that's the game that matters right now. I know the Penguins are a divisional game and game matters too. It's 2 points in the division. But man, do well tonight and take that into Saturday, and then really go at the Rangers on Saturday. Don't back into to Saturday's game with the loss tonight. On a beat 0-2 road trip. But I guess that's me being a little bit more pessimistic than optimistic right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you took a hard loss to the Winnipeg Jets a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg, kind of opposite of Pittsburgh, has been a house of horrors for New Jersey.
Yeah.
They have not done well there at all. You might have remembered the beatdown that they took in Winnipeg last year. And Nico Heischer scored with like 4 tenths or something like that in regulation to avoid being shut out, and they ended up not being shut out all season long. I like
Mm-hmm.
that they showed some fight at certain points in this game against the Jets, but I mean, they're going to have to bring it from beginning 10 against this Penguins team, who they still, even though they're a little older, have Hall of Famers all over the place. You got Sidney Crosby,
Mm-hmm.
Evgeny Malkin, Eric Carlson, Christopher Letang. Tristan Jarry is going to be in goal for the Penguins tonight. What, in your opinion, is going to be needed if the Devils are going to beat Jarry enough to get this win?
Uh, just shoot on Jari, because Jari can get shaken. Jari can become Jari in net. And he's beatable. Jari is not a world stopper. Jari is not a Vasilevsky. Jari is not a Shesterkin. So Jari can be beaten, and that's really been one of the problems of the Penguins in recent time is their goaltending. It hasn't been world class. Between him and everyone else that they feel like they've had the cavalcade of goaltenders. So just shoot, and hopefully you can catch him on an off night. Hopefully you can get under him early, and the Devils still need to really take that lead and seize the game in the first period and take it for the rest of the game, because they still haven't really done that yet.
Absolutely. Now, how do you respond? And I have a very strong opinion on. I'll give it after you go, but people are like kind of ripping on Jesper Bratt a little bit online. I've been noticing with the lack of Heischer and Hughes. When a top center like that goes down,
Mm-hmm.
wingers rely on their centers. I think that's what makes them wingers. I think that's why if you look at all
Yeah.
the highest paid players in the NHL, 90% of them are centermen because they are there to make wingers better. Every now and then you come across an Alexander Ovechkin who definitely
Mm-hmm.
benefited from having Evgeny Kuznetsov and Nicholas Backstrom a lot. He scored over 800 goals. That's on him. But it was nice to have the puck in his wheelhouse as often as he did. But you,
Mm-hmm.
you got guys like Mitch Marner and Patrick Kane in his prime. And, there are plenty of wingers who can drive offense like a centerman, but they're not a lot. They're not frequent. I wouldn't consider, we're kind of seeing like Jesper Bratt, he kind of misses his centers, but it would be nice to see him like just to have a game where he lights his hair on fire and he's just completely noticeable. Tonight against Pittsburgh would be a great opportunity for him to do that. Where do you stand on this though?
So a good a good winger needs someone to pass, to get passes from. And if he's not getting those solid passes he's used to, lacking that center can really be a real downside for a good winger. I mean, the winger can't do everything. The winger's not going to take faceoffs. Occasionally, the winger's going to take some faceoffs when the center's kicked out of the spot. But for the most part, the center's doing all that work, and the winger is there to be on the outside to receive those passes and to to score. That's his position. That's what he's supposed to play. So, it's yeah, we would like to see him step up and score, but if he's not getting fed, he's not going to have those opportunities. He's not going to be able to just create them out of nothing. He needs to get passes too. He's not going to be able to do everything. But he's missing his center, and we're seeing how well they work together because he's not doing well without him.
Absolutely. We're seeing Timo Meier score some goals. Hopefully he's in the lineup. I believe we haven't confirmed who's going to be in net. I can quickly triple check that. I know Jari is for sure confirmed for the Pittsburgh Penguins. We obviously touched on that, but it doesn't seem like the Devils have necessarily announced that. But one thing, while I'm looking at this is going to be the first time the Devils are playing against Ryan Graves as a member of the Penguins. A lot of people missing Ryan Graves. Where do you stand on the fact that the Devils let him go? Do you think they need to work on getting him a replacement? Whether it be a Nikita Zadorov or one of these other guys who are available out there. And are you excited to see the Devils play against Gravy on the other side?
Yeah, I really liked him. He was a really stalwart defenseman. He was a shot blocking defenseman, and I think we're seeing what happens when he loses shot blocking defenseman like Ryan Graves. Yeah, I would like to see him replace Ryan Graves a little bit more properly than they have, because when you're blocking those shots, when you're a goaltender and you have a shot blocking defenseman that you have full confidence in that they're going to properly block the shot or give you the shot, and that's huge. However, they did not replace that, and we talked about it on the big show. It was, I think, a combined total of 150 block shots that we lost when we lost both Severson and Graves, or it may have been Ryan. I can't remember the exact stats, but we lost a lot of block shots between the two of them, and that's less work on the goaltenders. Plus, that's having a little bit more confidence in your defenseman as well. So, I have no ill will towards him. I really liked him. A big fan of ours. Alan is a big fan of him as well. I hated to see him go, and they just need to replace him, and I don't think that they have.
Yeah, I don't think that they have either, but I think when you get some of your centermen back healthy, you can kind of mask some of the issues until it all gets sorted out. If I had to guess, I would guess that Vanacek goes in net. It is not confirmed, but
I would assume that as well.
It was Akira Schmid against Winnipeg. So,
yep.
I'm assuming that it's going to be one of those things where, they probably give it right back to Vanacek. Am I correct in saying that? Wasn't it Schmid against Winnipeg on Tuesday?
It was Schmid. Yeah. No, it was Schmid. It was Schmid against Winnipeg on Tuesday. He got me a couple points in fantasy, and I remember hearing his name on the radio as I was driving home from the rink. So I would assume it's Vanacek tonight, just like you're assuming. At this point, though, with the Devils' defense the way it's been, it doesn't seem like who's in net because no matter what the goaltender is they're not getting much help. So, it's goaltending looks bad because the defense is a problem, and I think that's universally seen as the Devils' issue right now is defense. And we knew that coming into the season, but they got to make they've got to either figure it out or make a change. And I have a feeling that Fitzy will if he sticks with what he's got, that means they believe in what we have. But if they don't, then hopefully they're going to make a change at some point.
And how do you feel about the idea they are still developing and progressing while trying to win at the same time? Don't forget, last year the Devils did go from it was like a worst to first type. They didn't come in first and they weren't worse the year before. But it's one of those types of situations where they went from being a crap team to being one of the best teams in the league in one offseason with very little additions made. It was literally they just became this great team because of progression of the young guys. Jack Hughes played outstanding. Jesper Bratt was outstanding. Nico Hischier. All these guys had these breakout seasons, and they're still looking for those types of seasons from Kevin Ball and Luke Hughes. And, obviously the two centermen are injured, but you're looking for even more progression from them. And Jesper Bratt, now you have Timo Meier in the mix. John Marino is still a young guy. All these guys are still growing and progressing together. It's not what is expected to be the finished product.
You're correct. Defensemen have always seemed to take a little bit longer to develop, though. And it's harder to hide a developing defenseman in your lineup than it is to hide a developing center or a wing. because that the defenseman is the last, your last line of defense prior to the goaltender. If it gets behind them, it's a problem. If it gets behind a winger, you still have, defensemen there to step up and a goaltender to step up. So, we're developing defensemen on the fly right now, especially with Jack Hughes and with Kevin Ball. And that's a lot harder to hide than developing wingers or forwards.
It sure is. And a big topic of conversation online is, and this is going to be our last thing we discuss before we get into our predictions. So get your predictions in the chat right now. Lindy Ruff. Lindy Ruff last year, they broke out the Fire Lindy chants after an 0-2-0 start. And then the Devils won against Anaheim, but then they lost to Washington. It was bad. They were chanting Fire Lindy more. And then they went on the 13-game heater. And they never chanted Fire Lindy again. In fact, they chanted Sorry Lindy at one point, which was very funny. But, then they struggled a little bit in December. And then they really hit cruise control in January on and were one of the best teams in the NHL. Do you think the Devils have a coaching problem, or are people online overreacting as they did last season?
My thing is, I'm curious how much of an impact Burnett had last year versus this year, with him not being here. So I'm curious if a good chunk of our success was Andrew Burnett and what he did as a coach. And I was really bummed to see him go over the summer, because I had a feeling that he was going to be the heir apparent to Lindy. And it was going to be, because they kept calling them associate coaches instead of assistant coaches. So I figured maybe it was just going to be eventually, he would get the job. But, Lindy is still a Hall of Fame coach. And I have a feeling that Jack likes him. I believe Jack has come out and said that he likes him. So if Jack likes you and gives you the vote of confidence, it doesn't matter if the fans want him fired or not. He's going to be staying. But he does have to start getting results out of these kids. But let's not forget just that they're kids, and they are going to screw up, especially on the defensive end. And we knew that going into the season. So is it time to panic and burn the house down? Absolutely not. If this continues into a very packed December schedule that I'm looking right in front of me here, maybe at some point, you definitely have to pull a trigger with something to make things right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Obviously, like Edmonton, they fired their coach. They loved him. And they just had to make a change because things were going bad. It seems like that happens in the NHL. I liked Andrew Burnett with the New Jersey Devils. I really, really did. And I thought he would be the next head coach as well. And I liked him with Florida. I like how he handled kind of when they were forced to fire Joel Quenneville, and he came in and did his thing. But I'm looking at the NHL standings now, and I see his Nashville Predators at the bottom of the NHL's Central Division with a 5-10-0 record, and they've lost 4 in a row. And they have a better points or a worse points percentage than the Chicago Blackhawks, who I watch frequently, and I know for a fact they stink when Connor Bedard isn't on the ice. So if you're worse than them in the division, you're in trouble up to this point. But it's apples to oranges. The Predators roster is completely different than that of the New Jersey Devils. I think Bratmeyer, Heischer, and Hughes are all probably the best forward on Nashville if they get traded there right now. But it's one of those things, like, I kind of just hope that this really is a result of there are 179 points from last season missing from the lineup right now. And, some really good two-way play as well. Nico is otherworldly, Selke candidate every single year, but Jack Hughes, don't underestimate his ability to lead the team in takeaways. And you can call it playing good defense if you have the puck the whole time, which is something that happens when he's on the ice. If these two each play 21 minutes a game, one of them is on the ice for 2/3 of the game, then you just need the bottom 6 guys to handle that other third, and their legs are a lot more fresh and things are just different. Their net penalty is always really good. Like, those two draw a ton of penalties and don't take very many. So the Devils will find themselves on the power play more as a result of them being in the lineup. There are just so many things that go into two guys like that missing from the lineup. And I'll tell you, I'm watching the other NHL games. Last night I was watching Vancouver just absolutely, have a blast with the New York Islanders. And, you watch Edmonton and you see Connor McDavid, right? He's starting to get going, and you watch Connor Bedard, and you see all the other stars in the league, and I'm like, damn, we have that with the Devils, but it's not at its full strength right now because of injuries. When we get to that, we'll be one of these exciting teams to watch. And I really hope they're back sooner than later, because watching Quinn Hughes scored in overtime against the Islanders yesterday, and I found out it was the second time in his career that he scored an OT GWG against the Islanders. I'm like, this guy's a devil already. I'm like, holy crap. He's already perfect. Can't wait till that happens. That's going to be really funny if that does end up happening. But I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully they're able to get this win tonight against Pittsburgh. And now I think is the perfect time for us, with a couple minutes left in the show, to get into our predictions. If you haven't put your predictions into the YouTube chat, I'm checking right now. Go do it. Shorts guy, we'll let you lead off with who you think is going to win and by what kind of score.
All right. the ever wrong Shorts guy prediction. I'm going to say 4-3 Devils.
4-3 Devils. Do you have any overtime, regulation, any goal scorers you have in mind?
I'll take any win in any point in the game and anyone to score goals at this point. I'll just take 4 Devils goals over 3 Penguin goals and a good game from our goaltenders. Probably Vanacek. How about you?
Very good. Yeah, so I'm going to actually read a couple of these. They're not coming in the chat as frequently as they do. A lot of people predicting losses. This isn't what I like to see. This is when you guys get in the butt. This is how I know the Devils. This is how I know the Devils are going to win, though.
I almost did that.
Nope.
I almost did that.
Can't do it. Beachmaster says 4-3 Devils. Which I need to know where that name comes from. How do you just wake up and decide, you know what, I'm going to make my YouTube name? JP says 5-3 Devils. Cindy plays bad. Come on. Or are we not past the days of calling Sidney Crosby Cindy? I mean, I maybe I'm just a Crosby fanboy. I freaking am upset. That guy, if I'm Pittsburgh, if I'm a hockey fan, I'm rooting for him to get 700 goals and 1,300 assists and have 2,000 points and be second only to Gretzky in assists and points. That's what I'm rooting for as a hockey fan. Sid is unbelievable. I appreciate Sid. JP, JP says Luke scores 2, but I'm not finding a score. Oh, yeah, he said 5-3. Yeah, he's the one who made the Cindy comment. Tom says 3-2 Devils. Steve Engel says we ain't winning 5-3 Pens. That's what I say to that. Shane says 2-1 Devils in overtime. Selecta says 4-2 Devils. Can they play defense? Yeah, I do think the Devils, they probably can't play defense, but hopefully they can in this game at least. Yeah, someone says, or JP said, don't you mean Ovi? I love Ovi. Ovi, I hope, breaks Gretzky's goal record. I love both. I appreciate the Crosvechkin era. I will never forget it as my all-time favorite era. No.
We're not going to see anything like it for a long time, if ever again.
No, because it was 2 guys, right? And you could creep up Malkin and Datsuk and Kane and Giroux and Stamkos. Those guys were great, especially Malkin. But I mean, when 2 superstars just absolutely dominating, and they're kind of in the same division. All the superstars, there are so many of them now. You can argue over who's the second best player in the league if you want. The number 1 is pretty definitive, but if you want to argue over second, there's 7 guys you could make a serious claim for. So and I kind of think that's going to be the way it is going forward. Every number 1 pick is going to be a superstar for the most part. Not everyone. I mean, we see what's going on with Slavkovsky and Lafreniere and stuff, but I don't know. I don't know at all. I hope, what I'm about to say comes to fruition, because I think the Devils are going to win by a final score of 5-4. High scoring. Let's see a lot of goals in this one. A nice 9-goal game to round out what has been the work week of New Jersey Devils hockey. And then they'll play the New York Rangers on Saturday, when I'm very excited to do this show. But and Sam Wu wants us to point out his prediction of 10-2 in favor of the New Jersey Devils.
That's a typical Sam Wu prediction.
Yeah, they've been untypical. They've been not very typical lately. So and they've been losing. So hopefully this typical Sam Wu 10-2 prediction means that they actually will win, even if it is a normal score. If it's 1-0 and it's a shootout win, I'll take it. I'll completely take it. But I love watching this team. I'm all in on them. I would love to see them get this win, be 8-6-1, and then you go into that Rangers game with some swag, get Jack Hughes back. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I encourage everybody who's watching the show right now as we wrap up to tune in tonight after the game that was to watch Devils After Dark with Scotty of SiriusXM as he will break down the game that was. And Shorts Guy and I will be watching from our couch, drinking some beer. And make sure you'll drink And Crew Brew always. And Crew Brew needs to be the beer that you are always drinking every step of the way. Join our crew today and drink And Crew Brew, where we make winning memories together, one crew at a time. And Crew Brew. And as always, to quote the great Sam Wu, let's go Devils. Drink And Crew Brew.